This is a pretty big day for us. We don't typically do this sort of thing, so this is a big event for us here with the City of Edmond, and so we're thankful for those of you that have taken time to join us. I'd like to welcome, typically with these type of events, you introduce all the VIPs in the room, but like half or more of the room is VIPs, so we want to thank those of you that are here from Representative Bice's office, Senator Langford's office. We've got several of our state legislators here. Thank you all for being here today. We've got council members here. We've got the mayor. We've got school board members. So really appreciate all of you for taking time out of your day today to be here with us. And we're going to try to not keep you very long. So the reason that we're here today is last night we were fortunate. The city council passed the first rescinding or removal of a restrictive plat, a restrictive covenant from a plat document in the state of Oklahoma. So essentially throughout the early days of the 1900s, these restrictive covenants were used all throughout the country, essentially to keep certain people from living in certain areas. And you'd find them on documents all throughout our country, and then we have plenty here in our community. So over the past couple of years, we've been working with lots of partners here locally, at the state, and we're very thankful that laws were changed to be able to remove these things from these documents, even though they've not been enforceable or legal for many, many decades. So I'm not going to go much deeper than that because I know we've got some other speakers that want to come up and share a little bit. So that's essentially the background for why we're here today. We've got a lot of people to thank, and we're going to try to make sure that we thank all of them as well. So at this time, I would like to welcome up Amy Stevens, who is the director of the Edmond History Museum, who, if you don't know this effort honestly could not have been done without Amy and her staff doing a lot of the research and background work that allowed us to provide the information that our legislators needed to make these changes. So Amy's going to come up and share some historical information, and then we'll keep moving.
I remember very clearly the day in 2020 when Darrell Davis said to me, "Why is Edmond's Black history not talked about?" Well, at that time, the Edmond Historical Preservation Trust had just done a cleanup day at Gower Cemetery, which was established in 1889 by African American settlers from Edmond. And it was also a time in 2020 when Black Lives Matters was on everyone's mind. And Darrell said, "Amy, we have to talk about this, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's the only way everyone can know where our city was and where we want to go." So with a little trepidation, we did that. The museum curator, Derek Lee, put the research together and launched an online exhibit called Edmond's African American History. And that was for the whole world to see. And it told the good, the bad, and the ugly. The truth about Edmond being a sundown town, about having an active Ku Klux Klan chapter, and about how the Edmond was promoted as all white from the 1920s to the 1960s. As a result of our online exhibit, which has had over 15,000 views, by the way, it is clear that the story of Edmond has become a resource for good in many ways, not only for citizens, but the City of Edmond, for reporters, for researchers from around the country who reach out to learn more. I just had a call from California yesterday. Yeah. I believe that the reason our story is so far-fetched is not far-fetched, far-reaching, is because our story, can I start that sentence over? I believe our history is so far-reaching because our story is very common to the rest of the United States. In the 1910s and the 1920s, there was a large migration of African Americans who were leaving the South and heading north, and there were a variety of reasons for that. Some were following sharecropping. Others were filling jobs that had been left vacant by World War I soldiers. And the fact that second and third generation of freed slaves and immigrants had an income level that allowed them to compete for housing. So there were many reasons for this. And Midwest towns that had been primarily white for decades suddenly saw a huge change in their population dynamics. And the communities reacted with fear. The practice of writing restrictive ordinances kept black people or other races out of neighborhoods, and it took off nationally at a dizzying pace. But because the cogs of time move very slowly, we are here today, a century later, facing that history, not hiding from it. Time has marked several advances in nullifying this restrictive wording. Lawmakers have worked on this in 1948, 1968, even in 2021, laws were changed, but the ramifications of that wording has not fully disappeared. Edmond is the first city to have begun the process of removing such wording so that property owners like Mr. Frost will not have to feel discriminated against in the future and will feel welcomed here. So these words, they're being erased from the paperwork, but the lessons should not be erased. History is our teacher. History helps people envision a better future, and Edmond envisions a future without racial wording. Hopefully today, by removing the first restrictive covenant that dates back to 1909, and we have 19 more to go, other communities will see our example and feel like they can take similar steps. Historians often cite the following tenet: weaving history into discussions about contemporary issues clarifies misperceptions and different perspectives, and that brings understanding, and it helps communities craft solutions. So Mayor Davis got it right. The people of Edmond had to talk about this. They had to talk about the ugly to reach a community solution. The paperwork conversion is going to take some time, but today's ceremony is a milestone, telling the world that we learned a lesson.
Thank you, Amy. She did mention 1909, so the reason we're here at the Edmond Chamber is not by chance. You are actually standing in that platted area. From that plat, this building is in the area that had that restrictive covenant, part of UCO's campus north of here, all the way over to Bryant, and a little bit north of campus as well. So you're actually in that area today. I did fail to mention that. So like I said earlier, we've had a lot of people that have helped with this. I do want to provide an opportunity for a couple of them to come up and speak at this time. Two of the key legislators that helped lead this movement over the last couple of years, Representative John Pfeiffer, Senator Kristen Thompson, who led bills in 2023 and 2024 to help change these laws, are here with us today. So I'd like to invite them up to make any comments that they would like to share today.
It is truly my honor to be here today. When this issue was brought to me, I was actually quite shocked. Like Amy had mentioned, it's not really something that we talk about. And so this is something that we felt was just very easy, very common sense, and very appropriate as we are reflecting on our history across the state and across the country and how we move forward in a responsible way. We are very fortunate. We know a lot of people want to live in Edmond. We get to live here, and we are thankful for that. And so any opportunity we have to do what's right, regardless of what has happened before us or what will happen after us, it's our responsibility to do that and be leaders in all arenas, and especially in Edmond, because we are fortunate, and a lot of people across the state look to us to be champions for many different issues. And so very, very proud to carry this with my colleague from across the rotunda, Representative Pfeiffer.
As you can tell by the way I'm dressed, I'm not from Edmond. I'm from a little town about 40 minutes north of here called Mulhall, and so people say, I mean, we don't have HOAs or anything, or really much of towns. I drove through more stoplights here today in Edmond than I do in most of the time when I'm driving through the rest of my entire district. But
it is a problem, the stoplights.
But why did I get involved in this? Well, it's the system working. I read a story in Non-Doc a couple years ago. It was during the interim, and it just flat made me mad. And so I called up my assistant, who during the interim we keep a list of bills we want to work on and things we want to file. And so I called up Ashley at the time, and I said, hey, make a list or make a note. We need to fix this. And and these things are uncomfortable to talk about sometimes. But if we just sweep them under the rug, nothing's ever going to get better. So we started doing some research. I read about it, like I said, read about it in non-doc. Started doing some research, figured out what other states have done, and if other states can do it, we can do it too. And we try to make things better. It's been an interesting process. I want to thank the City of Edmond for all their help in getting this legislation passed, and thank my colleagues in the legislature. It's been the closest thing to unanimous bills that we've ever seen. And again, we're not trying to erase or cover up the past. We're trying to acknowledge it and make things better for the future. And I just want to say thank you for everybody who's helped. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. Yes, he was right about what I'm going to say, because it's just now really coming into my mind right now. I'd like to thank each and every one of you all that's in this room. Yes, this is hard. So let me tell you why it's hard for me and why I had that conversation with Amy. I'm Darrell Davis. I'm the son of Grace and Chester Davis. My family they told me my family started in Oklahoma by an Indian chief and a black female slave. But that's what they told me, but you know what? I don't have the history for it. So we moved to Edmond 36 years ago and raised 3 adult children here. And I saw the history. People ask me, why did you move here? What about the history? Well, you know what? History's everywhere. And Amy and I, we had the conversation that we were going to bring it out. Good, bad, and ugly. I'm a Clint Eastwood fan. And let's talk about it. Dr. Lehman, I've talked to him about what the things he's done, the books he's written, the articles his son's written. And then one day, a businessman in Edmond, Oklahoma, who just happened to be African American, wanted to expand his business. And he looks at one of his friends, looks at the plat, and they have this language there that if you were African American descent, you couldn't live here. I was like, wow. So that's why out at Galveston Cemetery, it was important that yes, we have history. It's good, it's bad, it's ugly, but let's grow on it. Let's not keep multiplying the ugliness of what's there. Let's learn from it. And let's continue to be leaders for Edmond, for Oklahoma, and for the rest of the world. And you know what? Let's have those hard conversations. It's just conversations, but let's just make us all better. And so that's why we're here, and I really appreciate everybody here. And I just want to say thank you. We have 19 more to do. And before staff, you hear this? I got 112 days left, not counting. But those other 19 are going to come across the desk, and I'm going to sign them so that all of our plats here in Edmond will get cleaned up. And then, guess what? Just like everybody else does, they'll look at Edmond like, man, they got it done already. But we'll have it done. Thank you very much for being here.